When is a parent born? When your world changes in a moment? Nani? Or when the moment is celebrated by all? When you start learning again? Or with a new role? Is it your child's first breath? Or is it just a feeling? Parents are born when they fulfill a responsibility.
Your child's umbilical cord blood can provide protection from 80 life-threatening diseases. Keep it safe with Asia's largest stem cell bank. Cord Life. One chance, one choice.
Hi, everybody. A very, very warm welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining this webinar today on a Sunday. I'm sure that you have so many other things to do with your time, but I'm sure you'll find the content that we're going to share with you related to diet and exercise during pregnancy really valuable. This is about a 1-hour session. And since it's a Sunday, I'm sure everybody gets up late. Even I get up late on a Sunday a little bit. So make sure that you've eaten your breakfast, or if you haven't, grab some healthy snacks. Visit the washroom. Make sure you have pillows and you're comfortable. So I will give you about a minute or two to arrange all of this, and then we will get started. And I'll set the context, introduce myself, and we will get going. All right. So now it's time to get going. I'm sure you're very, very anxious to get started and obviously get finished as well, because once we start, then we can finish, and we do love being on time. So there is a value to that as well. So let me start with a little bit of the context of the session today. We are going to be talking to you about exercise and nutrition during pregnancy. This is the first session of the entire series. These programs are organized for you by Cord Life and with the initiative of Dr. Meera Agarwal. So Dr. Agarwal has been very keen on having all the information sessions for her clients, and therefore she has been doing this. Even pre-pandemic, we used to have these sessions physically at her clinic at the hospital. But now post the pandemic, the last 1.5 years, we have been conducting these sessions for her online. So as I said, it is the first of 3 sessions. Today we're talking about nutrition and exercise, and a little bit of, it will also cover a little bit of pregnancy information. The second session would cover labor and delivery preparation, and the third will cover the postpartum issues like newborn care and breastfeeding. I would highly encourage you to attend all the 3 sessions, because it is a comprehensive pregnancy program for you, which has been organized with the initiative of Dr. Meera Agarwal and with the support of Cord Life for giving us this platform. I don't need to tell you anything about Dr. Meera Agarwal. I'm sure you all know and love her. She is one of the oldest and most respected doctors in the Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz area. She's also very well known in Mumbai and other parts of India for all the various achievements that she has had. So thank you, Dr. Meera, for giving me this opportunity time and again. I have been associated with the Agarwal Nursing Home Center's classes for many years now. So thank you for this, and thank you for your trust and support. Cord Life is one of India's leading stem cell banks, and I would really have to congratulate them on this wonderful initiative, because as soon as the pandemic started, within 15 days, they had gotten started with having webinars and etc. So it was very proactive. It is difficult for all of us and you as well to come face to face now. So what we used to do physically, now thanks to Cord Life, we are also able to do in the online world, and we are able to reach out and give you all the information that is necessary. So thank you to Cord Life. And now that's my introduction, right? My name is Sonali Shivlani. I am a Bandra, Mumbai-based consultant. I work in the pregnancy, breastfeeding, and child nutrition areas. I have been in this space for the last 17 years and have worked with more than 40,000 families. I have been trained in the US, and now I'm also a trainer for trainers. So the institute where I did my certification from, I run the training programs pan India for them. I'm a mother. I have two wonderful kids, grown up, 20 and 18 years old, but I still am a storyteller and I remember my births very vividly. So it's something that you're going to probably get to hear about over the next 3 sessions that we do with you. Let me get begun with today's conversation. So we are on a platform known as GoToWebinar. The way we have set it up is that this session is being recorded, which means that you will get the privilege of getting the recording, so you can refer to it at a later point of time. Because of that, we have also kept all the audience on mute so that there is no disturbance in the recording aspect. But that doesn't mean that you are not able to ask questions. So there is a question box on your dashboard on your right. If you look at that, you can put all of your questions in that. And that is all those questions related to diet, exercise, and pregnancy information will be answered before the webinar is closed. So I would love for you to ask all of your questions. Make sure you put that in the question box. Before I close today's session, I will make sure I answer all of them, right? So now let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the experience of learning all about nutrition for a healthy pregnancy and some safe exercises that you can do during this phase. So we'll start with the healthy eating habits, right? I have always had this very strong and firm belief that healthy eating habits benefit not only the baby, but also the mother and the entire family. So many times, you know, when you ask mothers that why do you eat healthy during pregnancy, and they'll smile and they'll put their hand on their belly and they'll say it's for my baby. I agree. That's definitely the foremost option and the first thing that you should consider. However, you should also understand that we are not Mother India and we should be considering ourselves as well. And then if we are eating well, it definitely benefits the entire family, because if the woman of the house is healthy and is eating healthy, the entire family automatically starts eating in the same fashion. So let's understand a little bit about why. Because for me to kind of, you know, give you a diet plan and say, okay, ab you eat this, ye kha lo, ye subah, ye dopahr, ye raat, is very simple. But lekin to make sure that you understand why you're eating it, right? So if you have a chocolate cake, a yummy, gooey chocolate cake in front of you, and you really are craving to eat it, at that point of time, your taste buds take over. And you say, okay, hell, I'll think about this tomorrow. But when you know what the impact of, I'm not saying that one gooey chocolate cake is going to cause a problem, but when you have multiple such temptations, then how is it impacting you, your baby? It's important to understand that. And only then, when it comes from within, that, okay, I think this is really valuable for me, is when you will be able to make the right eating decisions, right? So the first is for the baby, obviously, we'll start with that. It's an optimal physical and mental development. Let me talk about the physical a little bit first. Think about it like this, right? If I'm making a building, if I'm planning to make a building, very adventurous, but okay, I'm planning to make a building, I lay a foundation. This foundation dictates or helps in making sure that this building is strong and firm and withstands various challenges that can come up. What are the challenges that a building could have? Earthquakes, tsunami, storms, tornadoes, cyclones, you know, all of those things. So the building could fall and topple if the foundation is not strong. However, if the foundation is strong, all of these things will not impact. In the human beings also, there are various tsunamis and earthquakes. And what could they be? Heart attack, hypertension, diabetes, all of these that come up in life are our tsunamis and earthquakes. And to ensure that physically we are developed well, starts in the womb. So in the womb, when your baby was conceived, the baby was a single cell which was not even visible to the naked eye. But now, after the 9 months that the baby spends, it is trillions of cells. And that is what is called the physical development. There was nothing like a kidney or a heart or a brain or a liver at the time of conception, but everything gets formed in the 9 months. So we want to make sure that all of these organs are optimally developed so that they can function optimally for life. Then comes the mental development. And I'm sure this is something which is very, very dear to every parent. I mean, I'm a parent and I know when my children would come home with an A or an A plus on their worksheets, I would be like, that would be like bliss for me, right? I would feel proud. It would feel as if my heart is bursting in my chest because I would think I have achieved something so phenomenal, right? So that is where the mental development is concerned. And mental development, parents, does not necessarily only mean the A and A plus. It also means being emotionally stable. It means being practical. It means kind of, having the mental agility to deal with life, right? So we want that to happen. And the brain is also developing in the womb. So a lot of things as compared to the baby's development, physical and mental, is in your hands at this point of time. And how I will talk about that in just a little bit, right? Because when we are talking about the development, there are two things which happen. First, the cells are formed, and then the cells have to communicate with each other. So both these aspects are going to happen in the womb and in the first 3 years after delivery. The next thing is the ideal birth weight. Now, I don't know if you ever gone to visit, a new mother in the hospital along with your mother or mother-in-law. I'm talking about mother and mother-in-law. See, our generation may not talk about these things, but the mothers and mother-in-laws will. They have 3 questions for the new mother. First, normal delivery or C-section. They are very, very curious about that. Before even asking, okay, how are you feeling? They will start with that. Normal delivery or C-section? They want to know that, right? The second thing they're going to ask them is that, is it a boy or a girl? That is second. It still happens second after the type of delivery. Okay. So then they want to know that. And then the third thing that they're going to ask is, what is the weight of the baby? Now, why do they ask that? Because in their head, the weight denotes how healthy the baby is. Now, we are not trying to make the baby big and fat. The more the weight, the better the health. That is not true, right? So the ideal weight for a baby is between 2.5 to 3.5 kilos. And this is what we have to achieve. If the baby is overweight, there is chances of obesity later in life. Also, the difficulty in delivery will be there because there is certain amount of space that you have in your pelvis. The baby has to pass through that. So if the baby becomes too big, then your pelvis will not be able to accommodate the baby. On the lower end, if the baby has a low birth weight, what happens? The baby is weak. The baby is undernourished. Chances of early childhood illnesses like bronchitis, asthma, all these become very, very common, right? So therefore, it becomes important for the baby to cross 2.5 kilos. Many times mothers say, okay, but if it's a small baby, then delivery will become easy. We'll fatten up the baby after delivery, but that's also not true. If the baby is low on weight, the baby is undernourished, weak, and when the labor contractions will happen, it is going to be difficult for the baby to bear it and withstand it. And therefore, that is not considered to be positive. So keep all this in mind when it comes to your baby's birth weight, because the baby has to reach 2.5 to 3.5 kilos. When you are looking at the ultrasounds, they are telling you what the weight of the baby is at different stages of your pregnancy. So your doctor is also keeping track of that. You should also be alert in that. If you feel and if the doctor tells you that the baby is a little low, the baby needs to catch up a little bit, you should be alert on those areas. Now let's talk about you, the mother, right? For you, the pregnancy becomes healthy and safe. And that is something which is extremely important because, when your weight is excessive or all of those things that happen are there, then you can develop some pregnancy related problems like your gestational diabetes, your hypertension, thyroid malfunction. All of these things can happen. So your pregnancy has to be healthy and safe because primarily the weight gain is correct and that helps you to manage your pregnancy related hormones. I cannot say that there will be no hormonal changes during pregnancy. There will be. There will be a zillion hormonal changes during pregnancy. We always say pregnant women hormones are out of everything. That something is up, something is down. They just are not staying in equilibrium. And that is what is the problem. But that is normal for pregnancy. But if we can maintain our good diet, then we will be able to ensure that these hormones are managed, weight gain is optimal, and the pregnancy thus stays healthy and safe. Now, the other thing that happens is the baby is also born on time. Now, when I say on time, ideally full term is supposed to be between 37 to 40 weeks. If the baby comes before 37 weeks, it can be called a preterm. And preterm babies will require the NICU. It's stressful, we don't want that to happen because that is something which is not favorable for the baby, for the family. It's so much of stress also for you as the mother. So we want the baby to cross 37 weeks. If the baby reaches 40 weeks and beyond, the baby could become too large. And then for the delivery, it becomes difficult. Plus, you start feeling so heavy, so you start getting uncomfortable, and then there could be other complications. So the doctor will also prefer that I should deliver the baby when the baby is ready rather than go off on post-term. So a correct delivery will happen when the mother's body is in an optimal state of nutrition. And finally, if you're physically ready, your birth experience is also positive. Let me give you a simple example. If you're feeling unwell, you have the flu, you have fever, can you go for a nice long walk, exercise session? No, right? But if you're feeling fit and fine and healthy and perky and you go for a walk or an exercise class, you enjoy it. That's the difference. So labor is obviously like an exercise class. It's strenuous. It kind of makes you work hard, but you would enjoy it if your body is fit to bear it. Now, how do we explain the extra requirement? The extra requirement is just 300 calories during pregnancy extra, right? And when I define 300 calories, it could be just 2 rotis, one bowl of vegetable and one bowl of curd extra in the entire day, not in every meal, right? Because the second person that you're eating for is really, really tiny. The baby is so small, it doesn't require the baby to be kind of, fed double. So we don't need to double you. If you normally eat 2 rotis, doesn't mean you're going to have 4 rotis for lunch and 4 rotis for dinner. It doesn't work that way. While you're breastfeeding, the same requirement will continue, maybe a little extra depending on how the baby is breastfeeding and etc. But anywhere between 300 to 500 extra calories per day while breastfeeding would be the norm. All your meals should be balanced, right? So we are going to now talk mainly about your breakfast, lunch and dinner. The others are your fillers, your in-between snacks. So recommended during pregnancy is you should eat every 2-3 hours. So for example, when you wake up, you can have a little mini snack like some nuts, for example, okay, or a dry cracker if you have nausea. The second thing that you can do is you can have your breakfast. So your breakfast can have everything, it can include your cereal. So your cereal could be your upma, your poha, maybe your toast if you're having it with eggs, or your oats, that becomes your cereal. The second thing you should add in your breakfast should be some fruit. So when you add a fruit to your breakfast, it could be a banana, it could be an orange, it could be some strawberries, whatever is available in season, fresh. Yes, even mango. That is also okay, right? So you include that. The third thing that you should include in your breakfast will become your protein. So protein generally in breakfast can become either a cup of milk or 2 eggs. When you're eating eggs, you should always have mainly the white, but you can have one yellow. You can have it in any form that you like, whether you like it as an omelette or you like it as boiled eggs, etc. And then the fourth thing that goes into the breakfast would become your calcium. So if you've already had your milk with your cereal or your upma poha, or maybe you had curds, then that's fine. Because milk and curds and all that comes in protein as well as calcium. And then there is always whatever you have cooked, like on your toast, you would have put some butter. To make your upma poha, you would have used some oils. So your fats have already been included. Then comes your mid-morning. right? In the mid morning, you can have a fruit, you can have a coconut water, but here you should try to have 1 or 2 tablespoons of mixed seeds. So this is what is going to give you a little bit of protein over here also. So the general seeds that are favored are your flax seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. You can include these in your mid-morning snack along with your glass of coconut water. Then comes your lunch. So again, we are going to balance your meal, right? So when you're eating your lunch, what can you do? In your lunch, you can have your roti. Try to make your rotis a variety of grains, right? Don't try to, have the same roti every day. So sometimes wheat, sometimes jawar, bajra, and then you have your vegetable, have a bowl of dal, and have a bowl of curd so that your meal becomes balanced. In the evening, sprouts, paneer, you can make paneer wraps, etc. You can do a paneer sandwich. So these are things that can give you some protein and filling snacks in the evening. And then dinner obviously becomes same as lunch. If you sleep late, you can have a cup of milk before you sleep. So that will balance out your entire day. So the main ingredients of food, just to help you understand them a little better, the first is your cereals. And as I said, try to choose multiple types and avoid anything which is refined. So avoid things like white rice, maida, and try to incorporate more of wheat, brown rice, jawar, bajri, nachni, also oats. These are all good ideas to include in your cereals. You need about 6 to 11 servings per day, and the way I explained to you a day's plan, you will easily be able to get all your requirements of the carbohydrates as it is necessary for overall fetal development. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, the requirement for you, right, is a total of 500 grams minimum in a day. Because when I've written over here 2 servings minimum of fruits and 3 servings minimum of vegetables, that totals to 5. And each serving is approximately 100 grams. So if you're eating 2 slices of an apple, that's not good enough, right? You need to have at least 1 apple or 1 mango, or you can have, a big bowl of vegetables, a big bowl of salad. So you need to get, your vegetables in and your fruits in on a daily basis, right? Try and choose a wide variety. That means as many colors that you can get, because that is what is going to give you the multiple nutrients. The next thing that you have to also keep in mind is that you eat seasonal. So say for example, right now mangoes are in season. So yes, you can have 1 mango every day if your pregnancy is normal and sugar levels are normal, right? But if this was November, December, you would not eat mangoes because they are not in season. Fruits and vegetables are considered to be a very rich source of vitamins and minerals, and these are essential for overall pregnancy health. This is also what helps to sustain your pregnancy. So many times when your vitamins, minerals are low, your hormones can go for a toss, and then that is also what can cause problems. Then comes your proteins. Proteins are your building blocks of cells. Remember I said as parents that A plus, A report card, it makes us so happy. Proteins is what helps in brain development and also in weight gain. So 2 things that I mentioned. The second was also the baby's weight is a little less, it should be in the right range, etc. So your proteins become very valuable here. Vegetarians are generally in a problem because vegetarian protein is very difficult to get, and therefore we should ensure the way I explained the entire day's chart to you. In the mid-morning, I told you to have seeds. When you wake up, I said nuts. In the evening, you have sprouts or paneer. So you ensure that you take protein at every step of the way so that you get adequate protein. If you're a non-vegetarian and you eat chicken, say every day, then your situation is a little bit better, right? Because you can get a lot of protein from chicken, fish, even other non-vegetarian options. But vegetarian options are definitely a challenge as far as protein is concerned. Calcium is required for bone and teeth development. I think everybody knows that. Every mother-in-law will also say that, hadiyan banengi. So agreed. But it is also necessary for muscle and nervous system development. You should consume approximately 600 ml of milk or milk products over and above the calcium pill that the doctor has prescribed, because your body requires it. As a pregnant person, you need almost 1,000 to 1,200 mg of calcium, and your pill is only 500 mg. So where is the other calcium going to come from? From milk or milk products. Dairy is the largest source of calcium in food related items. Now the second thing over here is general question that comes, am I supposed to have full cream milk? Not necessary. You can have skimmed milk, because the difference between skimmed milk and full cream milk is only the cream, right? The nutrients, the protein, the calcium, all of that is the same. So there's no need for us to have that much fat. It's not required. There are some plant sources also, if any of my friends here are lactose intolerant. So green leafy vegetables, nachni, sesame, seeds, jaggery, etc. These are also good sources of calcium, but you need a lot of that. Like, just as an example, 1 cup of milk is equal to 6 cups of spinach. So obviously it becomes easier to have 1 cup of milk as compared to 6 cups of spinach. But if you really are lactose intolerant, you should sit with a dietitian and you should understand what the requirements are for you as a specific source. And then the fats, oils and sweets. There are lots of things that come in over here. Obviously your butter, your ghee, your oils, etc. But we should try to do more unsaturated fats, like what comes from your nuts, almonds, walnuts, your seeds like flax seeds. You can look at avocados. Try to include some olive oil on your salads. There's a myth which says that if you have a lot of ghee in the 9th month, your baby will slip out. That is a myth, right? So we do not need to go on increasing the content of fat in our system, but we need about 6 teaspoons for healthy optimal digestion. These are some other nutrients that are necessary for pregnancy. As a normal lifestyle, you need about 8 to 10 glasses of water. And if you have an active lifestyle, that means you're outdoors a lot, you exercise for 1 to 1.5 hours every day, then you should increase this to 12 to 14 glasses. But water is valuable because it helps in digestion, and water also helps to maintain the amniotic fluid levels in your body. So that helps you to reach your labor and delivery in the right time frame between 37 to 40 weeks. We all love salt. It comes in so many yummy flavors, right? We enjoy it. But salt is actually sodium, and it's also a preservative. So it sneaks into everything which is packaged. So if there is something which has a best before date, an expiry date, these are things you should avoid. So packaged foods you should completely avoid. Papads, achars, pickles, all of these are absolute no-nos. Little bit you can have, but it is better to avoid because you will end up getting a lot. Right? There was one time that I'd gotten a gift hamper, and in that there was a packet of that ready, dosa mix. And when I read the label, I was shocked. The amount of sodium in that dosa mix, that little dosa mix, which was going to make 8 dosas only, which would not even be my entire family's meal, ended up having so much sodium that it was enough to cover up everybody's sodium requirements for the day. So I said that doesn't make sense, because if I give this, make dosas like this, and my 2 kids are eating it, I'm giving them so much sodium. So then it is better to use the fresh batter rather than these packaged batters, right? The doctor has given you certain supplements, and these are extremely important to take because we have only 9 months to make the best baby ever, right? So we should not cheat on this. We don't know, even though I may give you the best diet plan possible and you may follow it, but we still don't know how your body absorbs it. And therefore, these supplements are important. So in the beginning of pregnancy, your doctor has given you a multivitamin and folic acid. At around 16 weeks, iron and calcium. And then in the 3rd trimester, you may also have an omega-3. Along the way, if some protein supplements are added, you must take them. If any supplement is not suiting you, please do consult your doctor, because that becomes very important. Tell the doctor that I'm getting nausea with this, or I am not able to digest it, or I'm puking because of it. So the doctor can change it for you, right? There are various options which are available in the market, and that is something which is important to keep in mind. I would give you a list of this as pregnancy superfoods, and if you can include this in your daily diet, that would be really helpful. So switch to sweet potatoes instead of potatoes if that is possible, because they are a richer source of protein also. Eggs are great. So if you have boiled eggs every day, they are lean protein and very, very low on calories. So you can actually use them for satiety and your hunger pangs, etc. Green leafy vegetables like spinach, methi, broccoli, you should include these in your diet. Pulses, legumes, and lean meat for a punch of protein. Berries, if they're not available fresh, then you can take dried berries. Read the labels carefully. There should be no added sugar to it. Choose whole grains. Avocados are a great source of omega-3 and healthy fats. So half an avocado maybe every day or every alternate day can be very helpful. Dry fruit, nuts, and seeds. These are your fillers. You can snack on these. Very, very helpful. These are some foods that you should avoid during pregnancy. Things like raw meat, soft cheeses, and unpasteurized milk. So the regular cheese that you get, like your Amul and Britannia and etc., are fine. Raw eggs, which could come in even desserts like chocolate mousse, please avoid. Fish in excess, because it can increase the level of mercury. So twice or thrice a week you can consume fish. But right now it's the rainy season in Mumbai, so we may not get the freshest catch. So you could avoid fish for a little while. Caffeine, it can reduce iron absorption. It can lead to frequent urination. So if you absolutely cannot do without your morning cup of tea, it's okay. But don't be a guzzler of tea, coffee, and aerated beverages. Just limit your intake of these things. Last but not the least is alcohol and other forms of drugs. You should absolutely abstain from these because these can lead to brain retardation in your developing baby. Here is a list of controversial foods. A lot of people have these, right? That don't eat papaya, don't eat pineapple. See, in the first trimester, especially in the first trimester, if you eat raw papaya, raw pineapple, it can lead to uterine contractions. So therefore, as a general rule, we tell pregnant mothers just don't eat because you don't know what your particular pregnancy condition is. There is a possibility that you may have a problem and therefore it causes uterine contractions, or you end up eating a papaya which is raw. So you should just be very cautious with this unless you're absolutely sure. It is better that you kind of stay away from eating this and eating this in excess for sure. Dates are not heaty, but dates are definitely high in sugar. So if you have gestational diabetes, you would avoid them. The other problem is dates are dark, and therefore a lot of people kind of say that the baby will become dark, and that is not true. So don't worry, it's completely normal that you can have 1 or 2 dates if your sugar levels are normal. Coconut water is not going to make your baby's head as large as a coconut. So you can safely have coconut water during pregnancy. It causes acidity in some people. So you may not want to have the whole coconut water. You can have half, and you can also have it with a piece of toast or something so that it will help you with your acidity. Ghee in excess is not recommended. It is not going to make your baby slip out. So do not get into that myth of having 2 tablespoons of ghee in a warm cup of milk every day in the 9th month. It will only make you fat. But ghee is a better alternative to regular refined vegetable oils. So, putting a little ghee on your roti or in your biryani or on your dal, that's okay. That's fine. That's flavorful. And that much of fat is required. Your body needs it to digest the fat-soluble vitamins. Now, moving on to pregnancy exercises. As I said, we will be really happy to answer all your questions as well at the end. So I'm sure you're putting in your questions in the question box related to diet and etc. So I will be taking them at the end of the session. Exercise has a lot of benefits, right? It can help you to reduce your back pain and other discomforts. So pregnancy brings about a lot of discomforts, cramps in the legs, acidity, just general lethargy. So exercise will help there. Exercise is a very natural mood elevator. It releases endorphins in your system, which make you feel more happy, make you feel more relaxed as well. and it also will help to boost your energy levels. The best benefit that I have heard mothers talk about is that it helps them to sleep better. And the way it works is that, that's what I've seen, and mothers have asked me, why don't you do a class every day? Because when we do a class 2 or 3 times a week, those nights they're sleeping better. So they've been saying, why don't you do an exercise class every day, right? And I keep telling them, look, I've taught you the exercises. We're doing the classes together 2 or 3 times a week. Why don't you try practicing some of them on your own as well? But the motivation doesn't come. Coming to a class is obviously something which they find, okay, at least somebody is sitting on my head and making me do the exercises, right? It can also help to prevent excessive weight gain. Please note, in pregnancy, we are not doing exercise for weight loss, but surely we don't want excessive weight gain. It will help to increase your stamina and muscle strength. It is going to reduce the incidence of pregnancy complications. It will help you to have a smoother labor and birth experience. And of course, recovery in the post-delivery period, because you are going to have to bounce back. You have to be on your feet. You have to take care of your baby. So you need a quicker, faster postpartum recovery. The first thing that I would like to talk about is your pregnancy posture, because that's what we need to first correct if we want less back pain, etc. If you see the woman on the left, she is not taking full back support, she's slouching. So that's a poor sitting position. If you see the woman on the right, that is a good sitting position because she is erect, she has taken full back support, she has full lumbar support, and this is considered better. The other thing that you should note is that her feet are flat on the ground. So your feet should not be dangling. Otherwise, that can also put pressure on the lower back. If you need to support your back, you can use a small pillow, because a small pillow can actually give you good lower back support. So wherever you sit, in the car, on the couch, on the bed, keep some small pillows which you can tuck into the middle of your lower back. While standing also, you should try and stand erect, right? Because during pregnancy, thanks to the growing weight, your lower back curvature increases. And because of that, you get a lot of lower back pain. The other thing that happens is that your breast size is increasing, so you tend to have a hunch like this. So lower back plus upper back, they both get compromised. So try to make sure that when you are standing also, you're standing erect, your shoulders are pushed back and they don't get hunched. That will help you to get a lot of relief from your back problems. Now let's talk about some of the exercises that you can do. But before I start explaining the exercises, I would like to put in a disclaimer over here that all of these exercises are safe for a healthy pregnancy. So you must always consult your doctor before you start. Very, very important. Okay. And it is not that you should consult your doctor once. You should consult your doctor. You should ask this question at every prenatal visit. Every time you go for your checkup, you should ask, everything is fine? Can I continue my exercises? And if the answer is yes, then you continue. At any time, if you feel any kind of discomfort, you must stop. If you feel that there is any warning sign that is visible, like pain in the abdomen or bleeding or liquid discharge from the vagina, then you should immediately report to the doctor. Okay? So now let us try these. While you're sitting there also, you can try some of the postures with me. The first is neck rotations. Now, whenever we're doing prenatal exercise, we do it really slowly. We don't do it in a hurry, right? So the way we'll be doing neck rotations is like this. Drop your chin to your chest, left ear to left shoulder, back of the head to the back, right ear to right shoulder, and chin to chest. And then switch, right ear to right shoulder, back of the head to the back, left ear to left shoulder, and chin to chest, right? So it was done very, very slowly. And the basic idea is that you can do this whenever you feel comfortable. Do about 8 to 10 times, both the rotations. It is very good for circulation to your head. It will help you to reduce things like headaches and etc. So it's something which should be done on a regular basis during pregnancy, more as a prevention exercise. The next thing we're doing is wrist rotations. So hold out your hands for me like this while we're here and do this really slowly. First, 1, 2. So we're doing it in one direction, 3 and 4, and then reverse it, 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So that's your second exercise. This is especially beneficial for people who work a lot on the computer, because you're sitting in one position and you are kind of, using your wrists are not getting to move too much. And sometimes it can also help for people who get a lot of swelling in their hands when they wake up in the morning, because you're sleeping on one side, your arm is getting constricted, the blood flow is getting constricted. So you might want to kind of, do this first thing in the morning. One very important pregnancy tip is that your finger rings should fit you all through pregnancy. So when we hear about swelling, it is a little bit in the feet is understandable. But if you're getting swelling, puffiness in the face, in your fingers, in your hands, that is not a good idea. The next one you can do is foot flexes. So while you're sitting on your bed, on your chair, or wherever you are comfortably, slowly point your feet and flex, point and flex. So you should be feeling this in your calves, point and flex, point and flex, and then circle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This you should feel in your ankles. Reverse the circle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next exercise is a butterfly position, and this is especially beneficial for preparing your pelvis for labor. Right? It helps to strengthen up, stretch the pelvis, strengthen the thigh muscles. So sit comfortably, preferably on a mat. But right now, if you're sitting on the couch or you're sitting on the bed, that's fine. Just bring your feet together and try to pull them as close to your pelvis as possible. Bring them in as close to your pelvis as possible. You should start feeling a stretch in the inner thigh now, which is perfectly fine, right? And then now flap up. That's your knees are going up and down. 2 and down. 3 down. 4 down, right? So that is how you do the butterfly. I would recommend you do at least 30-40 of these flaps every day, starting from week 28 onwards. The cat and camel exercise is an excellent exercise for your back pain. So it's a good back strengthening exercise also. When you're starting, again, I would recommend that this is done on a non-slip yoga mat, because your stability is better. Don't do it on the bed or the couch. So on the mat, and right now, if you don't have the mat, if you want to try it on the floor, that is fine too, because you're not doing too many, but otherwise your knees will hurt. So we are in the all fours position. Your arms are below your shoulders. Your knees are below your hips and they're hip distance apart. Slowly, you're going to arch your back. You're going to look up at the ceiling. Sometimes you might feel a little stretch in the abdomen when you do this, and that is okay. There is nothing to worry about as long as you are comfortable. And then you're going to round out your back and you're going to look down at the navel. So this is something that you can do about 12 to 16 times. And whenever you arch and you round, hold the stretch for 3 counts. So that is going to help the back to get released well, and you'll reduce your back pain issues because the back muscles will get stronger. This is another very good exercise for back, right? So you're lying down on the mat and your feet are flat on the floor in this fashion. You keep your arms next to your hips and you slowly raise your buttocks off the floor and then slowly bring them down. It slowly raise and you slowly bring them down. Try to raise as high as possible, and also when you are raising it, again hold for 3 counts and then bring it down. Leg raises is an excellent exercise for your labor preparation. Again, it helps to strengthen your pelvis and stretch the pelvis also. So you lie down on the mat, make sure that your body is in a straight line. Your lower leg is folded and the upper leg is straight. So go take the upper leg up to 90 degrees and take it down. When you take it down, don't plop it on the floor. Maintain the stretch. So it goes like this. It's up and down. So we're not going like down, right? We're going down. So it's up and down. up and down, and do it nicely and slowly, right? Up and down. So the whole idea is that you try about 8 to 10 for each leg every day, and as your stamina builds up, increase it to about 32 counts for each side. So you'll have to increase it slowly. Don't start with 32 with a bang, otherwise you will start feeling a lot of discomfort. This is a favorite of every prenatal class also, squats. We can't do a class without squats. We have to. So you can do these squats also. Again, reminder, make sure that your pregnancy is being checked by the doctor. Your doctor is giving you the green signal. Because your stability is not the best, you might require to take some support. So it could be a wall, it could be a nice firm chair like this. It could also be your husband. That's also very welcome, right? So take good support, spread your legs really wide apart, point your toes out, and then come down till your thighs are parallel to the ground and your back has to be tall and straight. I would suggest you start with 8 squats every day, and then as your strength builds up, you can increase this. I have my classes, people do 80, 100 squats also, but they are the ones who've been doing it for a couple of months. So slowly they increase their, level of doing the squats and the counts also. The next thing is deep breathing. It's one of the most simplest exercises that is there, and it can be done by women on bed rest also. So wherever you are, place one hand on your chest, place the other hand on your abdomen. Take a deep breath in so that both the hands kind of, puff out, and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Right? I would suggest doing about 40 deep breaths every day. And it's a good thing to do it in a non-air conditioned environment, preferably first thing in the morning. This helps to build your lung capacity. It also helps to strengthen your abdominal muscles. So it's something which is very, very essential as far as your pregnancy is concerned. The next exercise is Kegels. You may have heard this name. Maybe you're doing it also. If you're not doing it, then you must do it. It's an exercise for all women to do for all their life, technically. Now, what are we going to do with Kegels? You have to imagine that you are trying to stop the flow of urine. You want to pee, but you're not being allowed to. So how do you contract your pelvic floor muscles? How do you contract your vaginal muscles to hold your pee in? So hold and release. Hold, release. Hold, release. Hold, release. Hold, release. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. Now, when you're doing this, don't do it in the bathroom because you might get tempted. Oh, she said stop the flow of urine, so let me try it in the bathroom. Don't do it in the bathroom. Just do it on your bed, on your chair, wherever you're sitting. You can do it in the car. You can do it while cooking, whatever you feel comfortable. When you're doing it, your abdominal muscles and your breathing remain completely normal. They should not be getting tightened. We're not doing Kapalbhati. We are doing Kegels. Okay. Now, you should ideally be doing about 100 to 150 Kegels every day. You do not need to do them all in one go. They can be done spread out over the day. So you can do 15-20, spread it out in 5-6 sessions like that. That is going to help you to get your Kegels done. Once you deliver, you should continue doing your Kegels. And even afterwards, when you're my age, with older kids, continue doing your Kegels. Because that is what is going to help to maintain your vaginal muscles. As menopause comes up and etc., these muscles become very loose and relaxed. So it's very important that you help to develop them.
When is a parent born? When your world changes in a moment. Nani? Or when the moment is celebrated by all. When you start learning again. Or with a new rule. Is it your child's first breath? Or is it just a feeling? parents are born when they fulfill a responsibility.
Your child's umbilical cord blood can provide protection from 80 life-threatening diseases. Keep it safe with Asia's largest stem cell bank. Cord Life. One chance, one choice.
All right. And for all my lovely mamas who are attending the session today, we have a gift for you. A gift from Cord Life and Life in Pursuits. It's a gift voucher which you can use to shop and get some favorite products which could be for baby or maternity. Life in Pursuits has a range of organic and natural wellness and personal care products. So you can look at, maybe a body wash, you could look at a baby massage oil. So there are lots of options that are there, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your shopping experience by also getting some nice organic and natural products for yourself and for your baby. The Cord Life team will be in touch with you in about 48 to 72 hours after the session, and we'll be sharing this voucher with you so that you can kind of, do a little bit of shopping sitting from home as well. These are some books which are available on Amazon. These have been written by me. The first one is Prenatal Fitness, which is all about exercises during and post-pregnancy as well as nutrition. The book has more than 100 exercises with pictures, and each exercise has been explained. So it's a great book for all pregnant mothers to have. You can also do exercises with your partner during pregnancy and with your baby in the post-delivery period. So there are additional exercises for those as well. Parenting Mantras is all about parents and how those little things that we can take care of, such as toilet training, teething, breastfeeding, vaccinations. So lots of questions that parents have has been covered in this book. The last one is Super Mom's Recipes, which is all about what foods your baby can eat, different recipes for young babies so they can enjoy their food as well. So you learn how to create some variety. And finally, all of these are available on Amazon. So I'm sure that you can look those up and see which ones are of interest to you. I'm going to move towards questions, but before that, I've also put my personal coordinates, my website, my Facebook handle, my Instagram handle. I would love for you to follow us because we do a lot of fun stuff on our social media. We also have a YouTube channel, which is known as the Pregnancy Coach by Baby 360 Degrees. Please do subscribe. The next set of numbers is the Cord Life numbers. So you have the calling number, the WhatsApp number, the toll-free number, and the SMS number. Please do make a note of all the details which have been given on the screen because you can receive your gift voucher and the recording of this session. Plus, if you are also looking at getting a presentation on stem cell banking, then you can call these numbers and the Cord Life team will be happy to give you a free presentation so you can understand what stem cell banking is all about and if it is something which you would like to opt for your family. So make a note of all these details on the screen and I'm going to move towards the questions. Hopefully you've given me a lot of questions to answer. So there is a question from one of the mothers who says that what exercises can be done in the 5th and 6th month. I've shown you so many different exercises in the presentation today. So you can get permission from your doctor and you can start doing all of these exercises. If nothing, you can also go for a walk and it's perfectly okay to, do regular walking also during pregnancy. I would be really happy to answer questions. I'm in my starting of the 3rd month. I don't feel like eating. Any suggestions? Pregnancy hormonal changes do create such situations where your appetite completely disappears in the first 3 to 4 months. The baby at this time is really tiny and your body already has a lot of reserves. So you're not really going to compromise the baby if you don't eat anything. You should try to eat something small, even if it's small snacks of healthy things, which will help to maintain your nutrient levels. If you cannot retain anything, that means if you eat something or you drink something and you're immediately vomiting, then that can become something which is a pregnancy problem. And you should immediately inform your doctor about this. But if you can retain small amounts of food and liquid, then just keep having something healthy every 2-3 hours, and that will work out well for you. I had a strange, while I get up, sitting for some time in my lower body. I don't know, ma'am. I don't understand what's strange, because I don't think you've completed your question. Please complete your question there. I'm in my second month. Can I do any exercise? So Michelle, yes, if your pregnancy is well and normal, you can do a walking routine. You can go for a light walk. So it's like more like a stroll, walking kind of a thing, which you can do in the first trimester. Okay, so you feel a pain while for 10 to 15 seconds, and then I'm able to get up. So are you talking about when you're lying down and getting up? So you should check in with the doctor, because this is generally related to pubis bone. And sometimes there is an extra separation in the pubis bone, which can result in this kind of a sensation. It is not abnormal, it is quite normal. So that is something that happens during pregnancy. But you can also consult with a physiotherapist for some strengthening exercises. So once your muscles around that area are strengthened, then your bones will be able to tolerate this better, the separation better. Separation is normal. It's just that some women are not able to have enough strength in the muscles, and that creates the problem. Also, I'm hungry all the time. How can I control that? I wake up midnight to eat as well. It does happen. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, try to have something healthy. Keep nuts, have a cup of milk, have a fruit like a banana. So those are things that you can have in the middle of the night. Your meals may not be optimal, right? So if you balance your meals and you eat adequate protein also, then you should not get such severe hunger pangs. So the way I explained the diet, please try to follow that and have adequate protein in your diet as well. For a normal pregnancy, what is the maximum amount of caffeine which can be consumed? So the occasional soda is okay, and the 1 to 2 cups of tea is fine. There is no minimum and maximum limit. The normal recommendation is avoid caffeine, right? What are some of the fiber-rich vegetarian foods you would consume? Ma'am, fiber is going to be there in a lot of things. So fiber you will get in whole grains, in fruits and vegetables, even in things like cholas, rajmas, the legumes like that. These are rich in fiber. So you can include these in your diet on a regular basis. So for iron, there are 2 recommendations that actually I would give you. If you see the word iron in your blood reports, it's called hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is heme and globulin, which is iron and protein. So only having iron-rich foods is not going to get your hemoglobins to rise, right? So your hemoglobin the heme has to bind with globulin to become hemoglobin, which means that you need adequate protein also. Yes, your green leafy vegetables and etc. These are your iron-rich foods. Pomegranate, apple, even potato has some iron in it. So you can have all of these things. But along with that, you should also make your diet protein-rich. So even things like rajma, chola. Rajma is rich in iron as well as in protein. You should have grains like nachni, which are rich in iron. So these are some of the things that you can include on your in your diet daily. One additional thing that can also help is having vitamin C with an iron-rich food. So for example, if you make a spinach soup for yourself, you can, while serving, you should squeeze some lime in it. When you're having your iron pill, you can have it with a glass of nimbu pani. So then that kind of increases the iron absorption from whatever iron you are taking. Yeah, so I have given you the recommendations for increasing hemoglobin. For baby brain development, which medicine is suggested? Folvite is folic acid, ma'am. That is to prevent neural tube defects. Or 9D. I don't know what you're talking about with 9D, but omega-3 is what is given in the 3rd trimester for optimal fetal brain development. So your older child is 2 years and likes to sleep on your tummy. No, you should avoid that. You may not be feeling any discomfort, but any kind of pressure on the abdomen during pregnancy is not recommended. We would also love to get your feedback for the session. If you've had, if the information has been helpful to you, please do put that in the chat window. After the session also, there is an option for giving your feedback. So we would love to learn. It's a learning experience for us as well. Just as a reminder, do stay in touch because we have 2 more sessions on different topics which will be coming up for you. And this is specially organized for Meera Agarwal because it's an initiative that she has, brought in for you. So take advantage. Also spread the word amongst your friends who are going to Meera Agarwal. So then, they can also take advantage of the other 2 sessions as and when they are organized. Ma'am, there is no specific diet that you should take in the 3rd trimester. Your 3rd trimester diet is very similar to your diet that I explained in the session. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your kind words. I'm glad to know that we can be helpful even for a 2nd pregnancy. And you are any which ways a professional yourself because you'll be able to answer so many of these questions. Thank you. So if there are no more questions, we can call it a wrap and we can say that, you enjoy your Sunday. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for being such a lovely and patient audience and all the lovely questions that you have been asking. We hope to see you in our subsequent sessions. Have a great day ahead. Stay safe and a healthy pregnancy.
When is a parent born? When your world changes in a moment. Nani? Or when the moment is celebrated by all. When you start learning again. Or with a new rule. Is it your child's first breath? Or is it just a feeling? Parents are born when they fulfill a responsibility.
Your child's umbilical cord blood can provide protection from 80 life-threatening diseases. Keep it safe with Asia's largest stem cell bank, Cord Life. One chance, one choice.